Black Lives Matter activist is suing the NYPD for $5 million for wrongful arrest after he was taken into custody during a protest in March in New York City. There's a video. Question is, what happened before the video started rolling? Nate Rogers has the full story. Nate, what do you got?
Bill, New York City Black Lives Matter activists say every time they attempt to exercise their First Amendment right and peaceably protest, they say they're threatened, attacked, and harassed by NYPD officers, this being their latest case. Now, Walter Hawk Newsom was punched, pulled to the ground, and restrained by several NYPD officers during a March 28th protest in Manhattan. Video of the attack was turned over to Newsom's attorney. The group rallied after an unarmed black man named Stephen Clark was shot and killed by police in California. Newsom is president of New York City's chapter of Black Lives Matter. Take a listen.
I was hit several times with a metal mountain bike, pushed into my chest, pushed into my neck, and hit in my groin with it. I was punched in my head several times.
Now, Bill, following the tackle, Newsom was charged with obstructing government administration. He was arrested and jailed for 22 hours. No word from police just yet on exactly what led up to this altercation. Newsom says he suffered various injuries to his shoulder, knees, and legs. Today, Brooklyn attorney Sanford Rubenstein filed a $5 million lawsuit on Newsom's behalf, claiming assault, battery, false arrest, and false imprisonment.
The issue that has to be raised is the NYPD targeting civil rights activists at demonstrations for arrest? This is the second time in about 13 months that Hawk, while demonstrating peacefully at a civil rights demonstration, has been arrested.
And Bill, the New York Police Department has declined to comment on this case, citing pending litigation. In New York, I'm Nate Rogers for Chasing News.
Thank you, Nate. All right, let's bring in our A-plus panel for tonight. We're joined by Peter Brown, Democratic councilman in Linden, New Jersey. Peter, welcome back. Good to see you. Bob Bianchi is here, former county prosecutor and now defense attorney. Always good to see you, Bob. And Allison Young, Republican strategist. Great to see you, Allison.
Thanks,
Peter, I'm going to start with you. We have a video here that I think is somewhat out of context, and we actually called the attorney for the plaintiff and had a conversation with him. And even the attorney couldn't really define whether or not his client had tried to break through the barrier or not. So even the plaintiff in this is not defining what happened prior to the video starting. What do you say? Did the police use too much force? Is this a wrongful arrest case in your opinion?
In my opinion, we need more facts of the case. And let me put it this way. I absolutely agree. If someone feels like their civil rights have been violated, they should be able to file suit. However, on the other side, when you read this article, calling police officers the Blue Klux Klan is something totally wrong. And us saying that, the police department is racist and going after civil rights leaders is something that should not be tolerated. We need to stop this.
Bob, to you, as a former prosecutor, legally speaking, from your perspective and police procedure, the cops have a right to establish a barrier, even if, and we don't know if this Black Lives Matter protest had a permit or not. The attorney didn't know when I asked him that question. So, do they or do they not have a right to keep the peace and order in a city?
They do have the right to keep the peace and the order so long as it's reasonable. But I was uninspired by listening to the attorney because we don't even know how this conflict occurred. And just because he may have violated the law doesn't mean that the police are allowed to use excessive force in taking him down. And that video looks pretty bad, but we don't have all the facts yet. I don't know how we can even begin to make a determination.
Allison, to that point, looks pretty bad. Bob hit the nail on the head. Every arrest video we see looks pretty bad. Remember Wildwood?
Exactly.
That looked pretty bad. And then you fill in the 40 seconds before, and all of a sudden, the cops are doing their job.
It's absolutely right. So, what's the rush to justice, right? So we see only one part of the video. We're asking all these questions about what's the context, what happened before. That's what Peter's saying. It's what you're saying. It's what Bob's saying. We don't know. And so all we see is the kind of ugly video that looks like some brutality. Exactly, and the lawyer didn't know. On
that point, wouldn't you say, and I would say this, I mean, the NYPD has arguably been so tolerant of all the protests in New York City. After Charlottesville, they walked with Black Lives Matter down the roads, even though they had closed roadways and intersections. I don't hear about many activists being arrested at all in New York City.
Every once in a while, you hear about things going wrong. And to Bob's point, you have a process where internal affairs will step in and look into this. So let's go through the process before we jump through and say and file these lawsuits and start saying the whole NYPD is a racist run department.
Bob, last point. As an attorney, take off your prosecutor's hat, defense attorney. Does this lawsuit, do you think, have a lot of merit, or you think it's going to go away?
Again, we don't know what precipitated the event. Nobody here, you, Allison, the lawyer, no one could tell us what happened here. I don't understand what kind of lawsuit this is. How can you evaluate it?
And even if there was some sort of violation, why is it a $5 million payout? Everything doesn't equate to it.
Well, yeah, in the end analysis, the case is only as good as your damages, and that's what a good lawyer looks at. What is a jury going to award in this particular situation?
We'll see. Gotta leave it there. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Peter.